Whatever Gerda did to Farah, she came out of her room on Monday changed. Ruth woke up Monday morning to the smell of breakfast cooking in the kitchen. She sighed. It seemed that Gerda was back to her usual tactics. Ruth got up and prepared for another day of classes. They had all been keeping close to home this weekend, trying not to be too loud, as they watched to see if Farah or Gerda would come out of the sick room. They had remained there for 2 days, and now it seemed that they would get to see what she had accomplished. As Ruth came into the common area, she saw not just one young woman in the kitchen, her form swaddled in a homespun dress, but 2. It wasn't until Farah turned to greet her that she realized who the other was. The transformation was as jarring as watching the girl cough her life away had been. Farah looked as different as she possibly could. Her hair, normally long, dyed, and trailing down her back, was now cut short and looked like it had been cut with safety scissors. All the black dye had been washed out, and her short hair was a muddy brown that begged to be dyed again. Her normally trendy tops and sleep shorts had been replaced with a dress that might have started life as a burlap sack. She looked like nothing so much as the Barbie dolls Ruth had styled and clothed with the scraps that she'd sewn together with her childish skills. Despite all this, she wore a large, painful smile across her face. "Good morning, Ruth," she said, setting a plate of food down at the girl's usual spot. Ruth hesitated before sitting, the 2 of them watching her with clear interest as she picked up her fork. Ruth would have refused the breakfast, but the pancakes and bacon were just too much to pass up after breakfast bars and coffee all week. "I see you're feeling better, Farah?" Ruth asked, food making it difficult to make out. "So much better," Farah said, turning to look cheerfully at Gerda. "And it's all thanks to my best friend, Gerda. She really helped me get over whatever was going on with me." Gerda smiled at her, their grins looking like they might cut their skin if they went on any longer. "Through the bright, Farah, all things are possible." "Through the bright, my soul is shining," Farah intoned, the 2 putting their heads together. "Whoa," Helen said as she came into the common room. "Farah, what did you do to your hair?" "Do you like it?" Farah asked, putting a hand on to bounce her non-existent curls. "Gerda thought I needed a new look for my new place amongst the bright." "The bright allows all its children to shine, but one must always remember to be humble when they come before it." Illuminations 2:16. Helen and Ruth shared a look, but took their seats and enjoyed breakfast. Dawn wandered in, yawning a few minutes later, but the yawn was cut off as she noticed Farah's new look. As she sat to eat, Farah and Gerda came to join them, smiling at each other as they ate heartily. "So, what happened over the last few days?" Dawn asked, her fork held in limbo as she seemed to be trying to make sense of Farah. "I was so sick," Farah said, relishing each bite with a long sound. "I thought I was going to die, my brain swimming through soup as I tried to get back to the surface. Suddenly there was a bright light, and I saw someone coming in and talking to me through the soupy haze. She started reading, telling me about the bright, and as my fever broke and I started to come back to myself, I was aware that it was Gerda. I was so grateful to be back to myself that I asked her how she had done it. She told me that it was all possible through the bright, and as we sat talking, I realized she was right. I spent the next 2 days listening to her tell me about the bright, sing about the bright, and I realized that being part of the bright was my true calling." She looked out over them as they finished eating. She was better, physically, but she looked as if she was still a little ill. Her eyes were wide, the veins bulging and pulsating against the white, and her smile made her look manic as the skin pulled taut. It was red, the flesh irritated and flaky. She looked ready to scream, ready to laugh maniacally, ready to lean across the table and bite whoever might be the closest. I have become a servant of the bright." The girls looked uncertainly at each other. It seemed that Gerda had a convert. Over the next few weeks, the girls noticed a drastic change in Farah. She took all of her clothes to consignment, the ones that she didn't give to her friends. She stopped going to her classes, stopped leaving the apartment if she could help it, and could be found as often in Gerda's room as Gerda could be in hers. The two seemed to be having a constant Bible study in their rooms, and when she did leave the apartment, it seemed to be so she could proselytize to the campus at large. People began to talk about the two of them, but it was pretty clear who the ringleader was. People made fun of her for her new dress, her new haircut, and the strangeness that spilled out of her mouth, but they didn't seem to be listening. The little duo remained the only two bright missionaries, but it seemed that Gerda had designs on the others in the household as well. "God damn it, Gerda!" Ruth jumped, bumping her knee against the desk as she jounced in her chair. "I simply wanted to make sure you were okay," came the muffled reply. "With Farah getting sick all of a sudden, I just thought—" "I was having a nap on the couch. Get the hell away from me, you creep." The door to Ruth's room burst open as Helen came in. She flounced onto the bed, sighing heavily as she took a seat on Ruth's bed. Ever since Farah had been turned, this had become a common occurrence. Dawn was a peacekeeper, trying to maintain order in the house, but Helen knew that Ruth didn't care for what was happening any more than she did. "I can't stand her," Helen said, but there was a distinct quaver in her voice. She's always creeping around, appearing over me when you least expect it. I don't feel safe here like I used to. I feel like she's planning something." Ruth snorted. "She's no different than 100 other rural girls I knew back home. My parents weren't indoctrinated like that, but she would have fit in with 100 other Mormon or Christian offshoots in my area." Helen laughed, but she covered it with her hand. "You've seen girls as weird as her? I knew girls who thought you could get pregnant from holding hands, or that listening to rock music would let the devil into your mind. We grew up sheltered, even me, and I think she's just awkward and letting it show." "And Farah? How do you explain what she did to her?" Helen asked. "Farah had a near-death experience. Something like that would be enough to make anyone a little open to some strange ideas." Helen nodded, mulling it over as she rubbed her feet across the carpet. "So, are you going to the party at the Lamba Lamba Pie tonight?" Helen asked, changing gears easily. "I don't know," Ruth said. "I've got a lot of studying to do." "Oh, come on. Dawn said that she would go, and if you don't come, you'll be stuck here with the Weird Sisters." Ruth thought about that for a second before agreeing to go along. Being stuck here with Gerda and Farah sounded like a terrible way to spend her evening. It was dark. Ruth wasn't quite sure what time. Ruth laughed as she looked up at the street lights as she and Helen walked under them. She was an angel out here, and she could see her halo. "I hope we're almost there," Helen slurred. "I've got to pee like nobody's business." "Me too," Ruth said, giggling, as she stumbled against nothing at all. They had circled the block twice looking for Dawn after she left the party early, but had come to the conclusion that she must have gone home instead of staggering to a bench to get some air. They had left the house at about 8, passing Gerda and Farah as they conducted an odd little Bible study in the living room. Both had asked them where they were off to, and when Helen had said they were going to a party at Frat Row, Gerda had made a distinctly disapproving noise in the back of her throat. "Something wrong?" Helen had asked, bristling slightly. "Girls who go to parties like that do themselves no favors. Why not sit here with us and have some tea instead? We can read from the Book of Illuminations." "Why don't you come with us, Gerda?" Dawn said suddenly, seeing Helen's rage beginning to build. "You could meet some new people, maybe make some friends." Gerda smiled, but there was a thin veneer of smugness beneath it. "I'll soon have more friends, Dawn. Who knows? You might have a change of heart and decide to come join us too." Helen herded them out then, not trusting herself to speak to Gerda. "Smug little bitch," Helen had said under her breath. Her dark mood had persisted until her third cup of liquor. Then her mood had broken like the sun through a cloud bank. Ruth had stayed close to the two girls all night, not liking the closeness of the party at first. They had danced, they had mingled, and after a few cups of whatever she was handed, Ruth had felt a little less conscious. She had been sitting on the couch with a frat guy in a snap-brim hat, watching Dawn twirl her hair and talk with a tall guy in glasses, and feeling pretty okay. An hour later, when Helen had said they needed to go after Dawn, the guy in the snap-brim had said that she could stay a little longer. Cassie said she left in a hurry, John following her from upstairs, and I want to make sure she's okay. Ruth didn't know any of the other people she was talking about, but after she heard that Dawn was missing, they had gone to look for her. The two made a sorry search party, but they'd gone staggering out of Frat Row towards home as they looked for the mousy little thing. "She better," Helen burped and covered it, and the aftermath sounded mutinous. "She better be home, or I swear I'll kill her." They went shakily up the stairs, their arms draped around each other for whatever balance they could find. The door to their dorm came wobbly into view, and Helen cursed as she reached into her purse for her keys. "Gotta be somewhere here," she grumbled, but Ruth wasn't paying attention. The door wasn't flush against the doorsill, and from beneath it she could see a familiar brightness gathering. Helen was oblivious to it, her hands rummaging as she searched for her house keys, but the light was sobering Ruth as she watched it dance and pulsate. It was exactly like the one that she'd seen under Farah's door when she was sick, that sick, beating light, and as she tried to get Helen's attention, the girl heard the clink of metal and pulled out her keys. "Found ya!" she trumpeted, sliding it in and opening the door to reveal a corona of brightness. They had stepped into a strange tableau, Gerda and Farah standing over Dawn as she lay sprawled on the couch. She appeared to be sleeping, but her eyes were open, and her mouth hung slack as if her jaw had been dislocated. Farah looked up as she came in, a spark of the girl she had once been coming to the surface for an instant before her smile re-emerged. Gerda had no such second thoughts. Her smile was jubilant, exalted, and the ball of murky light she was balancing in her hands looked about the size of a super ball. Despite the size, it was eye-wateringly bright. It sat like a miniature sun in her hands, and as she brought it down to Dawn's mouth, the girl bucked a little as it passed between her lips. They could see it illuminating her cheeks, sliding down her throat, before passing into her chest and glowing slightly within her. The four stood there staring at each other, pieces on opposite sides of the board, before Helen slammed the door and began walking quickly down the stairs. "Helen," Ruth asked, not sure what to do. "What are you doing? We have to help her." "And we will," Helen said, taking out her phone and dialing the number shakily. "I'm calling the police. I'm not going in there without someone who's armed."
Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, then please feel free to click on one of the videos we have up here. Maybe look at one of the playlists if you're trying to get caught up. I know, there's so many videos on the channel. There's so many series that are going at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little refresher course, and I gotta say, I always enjoy the views. If you're not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss anything. We upload a lot on this channel, so you won't want to miss a single story as they come out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on the Amazon link down there. There's quite a few books in my Amazon account. You can have a look, and if you'd like a signed copy, get up with me through email, and I'll be happy to work something out with you. Also, there's links to my Patreon, and you can become a member on the channel if you'd like your spooky a little bit early. Patrons and members on the $5 tier get their videos 12 hours early. That's in the morning as opposed to in the evening. Patrons at the $10 level also get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. Speaking of my patrons, you should see them appearing right now. Just wanted to take a minute to say how much I appreciate all of you. Patrons, subscribers, however you give to the channel. I really appreciate everything you do, and it truly touches me that you have chosen to support the channel in this way. Well, that's enough for now. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.